My name is Nina, and I'm 23 years old. People see me smiling now, but they don't know the battles I've had to fight, even against my own family. It happened at a family gathering. My brother stood in front of everyone, demanding I give him $10,000. When I refused, he snapped and threw water in my face. Everyone just stared. No one said a word. But I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply smiled, because I knew something he didn't. A few minutes later, I called my boyfriend over and introduced him. My brother froze. His face turned pale, because standing beside me was his boss. Before I tell you what happened next, please like this video and comment where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel, and don't forget to subscribe because this story only gets better from here. The sound of glass hitting the table echoed through the dining room, followed by a splash so cold it stole my breath. For a second, I couldn't move. Water ran down my hair, my face, my neck, soaking through my dress. My brother Leon stood across from me, his hand still gripping the empty glass. His eyes were wild, his chest heaving. The room went silent. My mother gasped, covering her mouth. My father shouted his name, but Leon didn't even blink. He was angry, furious that I had said no to him. Everyone stared at me like I had done something wrong. My aunt froze with her fork halfway to her mouth, and a cousin coughed awkwardly, unsure what to say. I could hear the old ceiling fan spinning above us, each creak filling the heavy silence. Leon's voice broke through. "You're unbelievable, Nina," he snapped. "It's just 10,000. You make that in a month, don't you?" My face burned. The water wasn't what hurt most. It was the humiliation. I could feel every pair of eyes watching me, waiting for me to explode or cry. I didn't do either. I just looked at him. My brother, the same boy who used to take my allowance when we were kids, now a grown man throwing a tantrum in front of our family. I wiped my face slowly with a napkin, forcing myself to breathe. "Leon," I said quietly, "you need to stop." "Stop what? Acting like you don't owe your family anything?" He barked, stepping closer. His voice rose higher, like he wanted to make sure everyone heard. "You think you're better than us because you've got a new car, a nice job, and—" "Leon!" my father shouted, but he didn't stop. I felt my heart pounding, but my voice came out steady. "You asked for money for the same thing last year. I told you then, I'm not your bank." The words hit him harder than I expected. His face twisted with anger and shame. For a second, I thought he might throw the plate next. Adrian, my boyfriend, who had been silent the entire time, finally stood up beside me. His presence was calm but strong, the kind that filled the room without saying much. He reached for a napkin and handed it to me gently. I took it, feeling my fingers tremble. "Thank you," I whispered. Leon glared at him. "And who are you supposed to be?" he sneered. "Her bodyguard?" Adrian didn't reply. He only looked at Leon, his expression unreadable. That silence felt heavier than any insult. Even Leon seemed unsure for a moment. I could see the confusion flicker in his eyes, like he recognized something about Adrian but couldn't place it yet. I turned back to Leon, my voice calm again. "You want to talk about respect? Start by learning it." He scoffed, muttering something under his breath, but I didn't let him continue. I took a step forward, meeting his glare with quiet strength. "Since everyone seems curious," I said, turning slightly toward the table, "let me introduce you properly." My parents exchanged puzzled looks. Leon folded his arms, still fuming. "This," I said clearly, "is Adrian." Leon blinked. The name seemed to freeze him. His lips parted, but no words came out. I watched his face drain of color as recognition hit him, slowly, painfully, his boss. For the first time all evening, Leon didn't have anything to say. The room stayed utterly silent, filled only with the sound of my own heartbeat as I stood there, drenched but unshaken. 2 weeks before that night, life felt quieter. I remember sitting at my small kitchen table, sipping tea when Leon's name flashed on my phone. My first thought was simple. He wants something again. I was right. He started with fake warmth, the kind that only lasted a few sentences. "Hey sis," he said, drawing out the word like it suddenly meant something. You know how you always said you'd help if I ever wanted to start something serious? I already felt a knot in my stomach. What kind of serious? I asked. He cleared his throat. A business idea, he said quickly. A luxury brand thing. I just need about 10,000 to start. I smiled faintly, even though he couldn't see me. Leon, the last time you had a business idea, it was a trip to Dubai. He laughed, pretending not to be offended. Come on, that was different. This time, I've got a plan. His plan, as usual, was a mess. Nothing written down, no products, no market, no effort. Just another dream he expected someone else to pay for. Leon, I said softly, you need to learn to build something on your own. I can't just hand you that much money. There was silence. Then his voice changed, cold and sharp. Wow, you really think you're something now, huh? Just because you've got that fancy job? I sighed. This isn't about that. It's about responsibility. He laughed again, but there was no humor. You've changed, Nina. You used to care about family. The call ended soon after. He didn't even say goodbye. I sat there for a long time staring at my cup, wondering how love between siblings could turn into this constant fight for control. Later that night, I got a message from Mom. Please talk to your brother. He said you're refusing to help him again. Don't forget, family comes first. I didn't even know how to respond. Family always came first for me. But it felt like, in our family meant giving until I had nothing left. Growing up, Leon had been everyone's favorite. He was the loud one, the funny one, the golden boy who could do no wrong. I was quiet, always studying, always working, trying not to cause trouble. When we were little, I'd save my lunch money just so he could buy a toy he wanted. When we were older, I helped him pay his rent once, then twice, and eventually I stopped keeping count. Every time I said no, guilt followed like a shadow. That week, I talked to Adrian about it. He was sitting on my couch going through some company reports when I told him about Leon. He listened quietly, as he always did, before asking one simple question. What does saying yes to him cost you? I didn't answer right away. I thought about the stress, the arguments, the sleepless nights. Then I said, peace. Adrian nodded, his eyes calm. Then maybe it's time you protect that instead. That was the first time someone had said it to me so plainly. And it stayed with me. When Leon called again 2 days later, I didn't answer. When Mom called, I let it ring. I knew what both wanted to say. By the time the family gathering was announced, I already felt the tension building. I told myself it would be fine, that maybe Leon had let it go. But deep down, I knew he hadn't. So, on that Sunday evening, I walked into my parents' house wearing a soft blue dress, hoping to keep the peace. Adrian walked beside me, calm and quiet, holding my hand as if he already knew the storm waiting inside. The house was already noisy when I arrived. Laughter, plates clinking, and the smell of roasted chicken filled the air. My mother rushed forward to hug me like nothing had ever been wrong. My father smiled warmly, but there was a hint of tension behind his eyes. Leon was at the center of it all, of course. He always was. He sat at the main seat, loud and confident, talking about work as if he ran the entire company. When his eyes landed on me, a smile stretched across his face, the kind that didn't reach his eyes. Nina, you actually came, he said, standing up and spreading his arms dramatically. And you brought someone. He looked at Adrian like he was examining a stranger who didn't belong. I smiled politely. Leon, this is Adrian. Adrian reached out his hand and said, Nice to meet you. Leon shook it too quickly. Sure, welcome to the circus, he joked, waving toward the family. Everyone laughed except Adrian. He only smiled faintly. We sat down at the long dining table. My mother served the food, talking about family, memories, and how we should all be closer. I tried to relax, but I could feel Leon's eyes on me the entire time. He kept glancing over like he was waiting for a moment to start something. So, Adrian, he finally said, leaning forward with a smirk, what do you do? Nina told us nothing. Adrian wiped his hands calmly before answering. I work in management. Leon raised an eyebrow. Management, huh? Sounds vague. I could feel my stomach tighten. He was looking for trouble. I spoke before it got worse. Leon, can we just enjoy the meal? He shrugged, cutting into his food. Relax, just asking. Then, under his breath, I heard him mutter, probably living off her anyway. My mother didn't hear him, but I did. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep calm. The conversation carried on. Small talk, laughter, fake smiles. Then Leon started telling stories about people who forget their roots. His tone made it clear who he meant. At one point, he lifted his glass, pretending to toast. To family, especially those who remember where they came from, he said, looking straight at me. I didn't reply. I just looked down at my plate. My father noticed the tension. Leon, enough. Let's not spoil the evening. But Leon never knew when to stop. I'm just saying, Dad. Some of us are struggling while others are showing off with new cars and fancy clothes. Would it kill them to help family once in a while? The room went quiet. I felt my heartbeat rise. Everyone turned toward me again. I placed my fork down carefully. Leon, if you have something to say it. He leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. Fine. I need 10,000. I asked before, and you ignored me. I'm asking again, in front of everyone. Maybe you'll feel a little shame this time. My mother's eyes widened. Leon! But he continued, his voice louder now. You've got it, Nina. Why are you acting like you're broke? You can't say no to your own brother. The words hit me like sharp edges. I looked around. Some of my relatives lowered their heads, embarrassed for me. Others watched, curious, enjoying the drama. I took a slow breath and said quietly, No, Leon, not this time. His jaw tightened. You think you're better than me? I shook my head. No. I just think you should learn to stand on your own. For a moment, there was silence. Then he laughed. Loud, bitter, and mocking. You? Telling me how to live? You've always been jealous, Nina. Don't act holy now. I looked at him, my voice calm but firm. Jealous of what? Watching you destroy everything handed to you? The laughter stopped. His face turned red. The room went still again. My father tried to change the subject, but the air had already shifted. Everyone could feel it. The dinner that was supposed to bring us together had turned into a quiet war. I could see it in Leon's eyes. He wasn't done. Not yet. Something darker was building behind that angry stare. And though I stayed calm, inside I could already feel the storm coming. The tension at the table felt heavy, like the air itself was watching. My father's voice was low when he said, Leon, that's enough. But Leon didn't stop. His eyes were fixed on me, his pride wounded, his anger rising. He pointed his fork at me. You've always acted perfect, Nina. Always the quiet one, the good one. But you're selfish. You pretend you care, but you never do. My mother reached for his hand, whispering, Please, stop. He pulled away, knocking over a spoon. No, everyone treats her like some angel. You all don't know her like I do. I sat still. I didn't need to argue anymore. Everyone already knew this wasn't about me. It was about his own shame. He grabbed his glass, still half full of water. 10,000, Nina. 10,000, and you'll never hear from me again. That's nothing to you. I looked up, meeting his glare. You're right, Leon. 10,000 is nothing, but respect should mean something. And that was it. His face twisted. He stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. Before anyone could stop him, he flung the glass. The cold water splashed across my face and hair, dripping onto the tablecloth, soaking my dress. The sound of the glass hitting the wood echoed through the stunned silence. Everyone froze. My mother gasped. My father's voice thundered, Leon! But Leon didn't look sorry. He stood there breathing hard, his eyes still burning with anger. I didn't move for a few seconds. I just sat there, feeling the water slide down my cheek, mixing with the heat of humiliation. Then, slowly, I picked up a napkin and wiped my face. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't break. When I finally looked up, I saw Leon's expression shift, confusion, then a hint of regret. But it was too late. Adrian, who had been silent the entire time, stood up beside me. His chair moved quietly, but the power in his presence filled the room. Everyone turned toward him. My parents looked at him nervously, unsure what he might do. Leon crossed his arms, still pretending to be in control. Adrian reached into his pocket for a handkerchief and handed it to me. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. "Yes," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. Adrian turned toward Leon. His tone stayed polite, but there was steel beneath every word. "That's quite a way to treat your family," Leon laughed, nervous now. "And who are you to tell me how to treat my sister?" Adrian stepped forward, slow and deliberate. "You don't recognize me, do you?" Leon frowned, squinting at him. "Recognize you? Why would I?" Adrian didn't answer right away. He reached into his jacket and took out a simple black card, his company ID. The tablecloth was still wet, and a few drops of water ran down the card as he placed it carefully on the table in front of Leon. Leon glanced down at it, then froze. His eyes widened, his face draining of color. The name on the card said it all. Adrian Cole, Chief Executive Officer, Crestline Holdings. Leon's lips parted, but no sound came out. My father blinked in confusion. "Wait, that's..." Leon stepped back, his voice breaking. You're my boss?" Adrian looked him straight in the eye. "Yes, and I've seen a lot of behavior in my company, but this is new." The table went silent again. No one moved. Leon's arrogance vanished instantly. He started talking fast, words tripping over each other. "Listen, I didn't mean that. I just lost my temper. Please, it was a misunderstanding. I didn't..." Adrian raised a hand. "That's enough." Leon's mouth snapped shut. For the first time in years, he didn't look angry or proud. He looked scared. My mother covered her face with her hands, whispering, "Oh, Leon." I sat quietly, not saying a word. I didn't need to. Everything that needed to be said was already hanging in the air. Adrian placed his hand gently on my shoulder. "Let's go," he said softly. We stood. No one stopped us. Leon didn't move. He just stood there frozen, his pride melting away in front of I. The last thing I saw before walking out was the look on his face. Shock, shame, and a kind of fear I'd never seen in him before. The next morning, I woke up to silence. My phone, which had been buzzing nonstop the night before, was finally still. I stared at it for a while before turning it face down. I already knew who had been calling: Leon, our mother, and maybe even a few cousins who wanted to know what had happened. I didn't answer any of them. Not yet. Adrian had left early for a meeting. Before leaving, he'd said one thing that lingered in my mind: let people face the mirror they've been avoiding. I made coffee, sat by the window, and watched the city move on with its usual noise and chaos. It felt strange how peaceful my apartment was after everything that had happened. Around noon, my father called. I hesitated but picked up. "Nina," he said quietly. "You all right?" "Yes, Dad," I replied. He sighed heavily. "It shouldn't have gone that far. Your brother, he's embarrassed. He knows he went too far." I stayed silent. He continued. "Adrian spoke to his company's board this morning. They're reviewing Leon's conduct. He might lose his position." I leaned back in my chair. "I see. He's terrified, Nina. He called me crying. He said he didn't know who Adrian really was. He regrets it." "Does he?" I asked softly. "Or does he just regret getting caught?" My father didn't answer right away. Then he said, "He wants to talk to you. He said you're the only one who can convince Adrian not to fire him." I closed my eyes for a moment. Part of me felt pity, the kind that comes from old memories. The brother who once helped me learn to ride a bike, the one who stood up for me in school once. But that was years ago. The man who threw water in my face wasn't that brother anymore. I'll think about it, I told my father. That night, the messages started coming again. Leon, Nina, please. I made a mistake. Leon, if you don't talk to him, I'll lose everything. Leon, I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean it. Please just help me this one time. Each message sounded more desperate than the last. I read them all but didn't reply. Days passed. Then Mom called. Her tone wasn't angry this time, it was pleading. Nina, he's still your brother. Whatever happened, don't destroy him. I felt the sting in her words. It always came back to that. Protecting him, excusing him, saving him. But no one ever asked what I needed saving from. When I finally spoke, my voice was steady. Mom, I didn't destroy him. He did that himself. She didn't respond, just silence on the line. Then she whispered, You've changed. Yes, I said. I finally have. That night, I told Adrian everything. He listened, his expression unreadable as always. When I finished, he simply asked, Do you want me to intervene? I thought about it for a long time. No, I said finally. He needs to understand what he's done. Not just to me, but to himself. A week later, the news came quietly. Leon was let go. Not publicly humiliated, but quietly removed from his position. The official reason was unprofessional conduct. He sent one last message after that. I don't blame you. I blame myself. I just wish I'd treated you better. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Some words are better left unanswered. Weeks later, at another family dinner, the mood was different. There was no shouting, no tension, just peace. My parents were quieter, softer. I could tell they saw me differently now, not as the quiet girl who always gave in, but as someone who finally stood up for herself. As I helped my mother clear the table, she said quietly, You know, I never realized how much you were holding back all these years. I smiled faintly. Maybe I was waiting for the right moment. Outside, the evening air was cool. Adrian waited by the car, his hands in his pockets. When he saw me, he smiled. Ready to go? He asked. I nodded. More than ever. As we drove away, I looked out the window and thought about everything, the years of silence, the guilt, the endless cycle of giving in. It had finally ended. Not with revenge, not with anger, but with peace. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.